Welcome, everyone. We are about to start the session. We're going live now. Welcome to all our speakers. Welcome to the second day of the DX Summit. And these are the virtual sessions of the DX Summit. Yesterday, we had the first day of the session where we had 6 sessions and very invigorating sessions digital transformation, and it spoke about the digital divide that we have seen. And these were all global conversations that we had because we had a lot of speakers from the B20 and joining us from the various countries of the B20. And we had sessions on gender diversity, opportunity for SMBs where digital transformation is concerned, cybersecurity, and several others. Today, we have a very important topic talking about connected customers redefining the business landscape. And we have a very eminent panel. I will just introduce the speakers. We have with us Mr. Dhaval Mankar. He is the moderator of the session. Mr. Mankar is a CIO at Havemore Ice Cream Private Limited, and he has been driving digital IT and digital transformation initiatives with focus on process simplification, automation, and leading data-driven decisions. Prior to joining Havemore in 2018, he has worked with other large enterprises like L&T, Reliance, Pipavav Shipyard, to name a few. Over the last 5 years, he has been instrumental in digital transformation journey of Havemore with numerous initiatives. Then we have Mr. Ankur Jain. He's been here with us as a speaker last year as well. Good to have you. Mr. Jain is the global head of DIGO Customer Engagement Platform Business, Tata Communications. Ankur is also the global head of DIGO Customer Engagement Platform Business at Tata Communications. He's responsible to lead and facilitate the creation of new generation cloud native and nimble products that deliver value to both customers and the business. Known for reading the industry tea leaves to anticipate new market forces, orient business transformation efforts towards today's and tomorrow's relevant business model, and quickly identify and capture higher ROI acquisition opportunities. He's a change galvanizer who positions companies as industry pace setters, scales priceless word of mouth, and drives both organic and inorganic growth. Ankur is an alumni of the MIT Sloan School of Management, engineer, and an angel investor and a mentor to few stage startups. The next speaker is Ms. Shweta Srivastava. Shweta has also been with us last year for a very interesting session we did with CIOs. She is the head of IT applications at JK Cement. Earlier, she was a CTO at Paul Merchants for over 5 years. Shweta has more than 2 decades of experience in technology roadmap planning, product engineering ownership, mentoring, and building high performance teams, cloud computing, compliance management. And Shweta has won multiple accolades, like she's the winner of the 2022 CSO 100 Award and several others. We will put this on the website of our program and you can have a look at it there. Dr. Bishwajit Mohapatra, again, he is also a renowned speaker at various forums. He is the head of Customer Solutions Management India at Amazon Web Services. Bishwajit is an alumni of IIT Mumbai, an ex-IBM executive. He's a thought leader and digital transformation with excellence in strategy consulting, CXO engagement, complex program management, practice development, technology innovation, and he has also been building inspired teams. He's also recognized as the most admired global Indian 2021 and received more than 20 plus CIO awards. Moving on, we have Mr. Kapil Raheja. He's the Vice President, Business Excellence and Transformation, PAC, from Hinduja Global Solutions. He has nearly 2 decades of work experience with leading BPOs, IT and ITES companies such as Wipro, Concentric, R Systems, and now with Hinduja Global. He has won industry awards for 3 times, and he's a certified data scientist, an alumni from the IIM Calcutta alumni, and Six Sigma practitioner from ISI Delhi. Moving on, we have a speaker from the Indian Hotels Company, Mr. Praveen Chandar. Very good to have you with us today. He is a well-rounded hospitality professional with over 30 years of experience. Praveen has held leadership roles across geographies at key hotels of IHCL, currently heading global sales and marketing for IHCL. He drives the company's revenue growth while managing customer relations and digital presence. He has been instrumental in launching the revamped group loyalty program. He's an MBA from the International Hospitality Marketing Innovation from Cleon Institute of Higher Education, Switzerland. And he's a strategic thinker who has built enduring relationships with various stakeholders. With that, I think we have a very eminent panel today, and I would hand you over to Mr. Mankar to lead the session forward. Thank you.
Hi, good morning to all. Thank you, Kavita, for that wonderful introduction for everybody. Well, we are living in a connected world, I would say. We have connected cars, connected homes, connected appliances. And if we talk about ourselves, we are also connected as a customer somewhere or the other places. And as we go by the definition of connected customer is one who would like to get engaged with brands on a multiple channel, and while he's doing that, he wants to have personalized, premiumized experience, the consistency in experience, and then the customer also wants to be treated as an individual, where brands must remember his choice and preference and whatnot. And on the other end, if you talk about the brands, the key or the foundation lies in how companies or brands engage with customer, the way they communicate or the way they collaborate with consumer to provide the seamless experiences. So it's a very interesting domain, and it has picked up a lot in last 3 years post COVID, as the online sales and e-commerce sales, the so-called omni-channel sales have started increasing. So in this session, we will try to cover how companies engage with connected customer, what are the best practices, what are the ways and means you can protect the data in terms of privacy and regulations, and how these trends are getting impacted by the newer and newer innovations in the technology place. And I think we have very diverse panel, right from the platform provider to the service providers, and people from manufacturing as well as the hospitality sector. So I would start with Doctor, to begin the session. If you can talk about how companies or brand engage with customer who wants to deal with their own terms and have the personalized experiences.
Okay, thank you, Dhaval. Quite apt question to begin with. Uh, Let me just bring in little context, right? As we all know, the customer experience is continuously evolving today. Just to give you an example, let's look at payments. When we are making payments, probably initial days we used to use cash. That changed to maybe a credit card or debit card based payment. That changed to mobile wallets. Then we started doing cashless payment, and today we are probably either doing it or almost envisioning the voice based payments, basically, right? So what I'm trying to say is that there is evolution of a new business paradigm today, and this evolution is actually happening across three distinct dimensions. The first dimension is all about change in business model. There's a business model reinvention which is happening all around us. The second aspect is new ways of doing work. There is more focus on actionable insights, orchestrated ecosystem. And the third point is around businesses are actually rebuilding around experiences. So today, customers, when we talk about customer experience, are more looking about convenience, customization, as well as control. I call it as C3s: convenience, customization, and control. When I talk to many of the CXOs today who are my customers, they are clearly looking for mechanisms to gain effective customer conversation and gain insights on how to leverage data, how to leverage cloud and artificial intelligence solutions to improve user experience and reflect the diverse personas they have with high degree of what we call as hyper personalization as well as cross channel engagements. Today, organizations have been doubling down on their customer engagement and communication strategies. Organizations are more and more looking at how do they provide personalized recommendations on various products and services? How can they improve customer experience through a omni-channel platform? Of course, churn prediction is extremely important, user segmentation for targeted campaigns, processing documents at scale, and fault prevention. So those are the key things that customers are looking at today. And it's not a technology problem, so to say, basically, right? Managing a holistic approach requires investment of both management of technology as well as operational technology. When I say management of technology, it's all about database, analytics, customer data platforms, CRM platforms, so on and so forth. And when I talk about operational technology, it's all about various campaigns. How do we really manage various messaging, various decision management and orchestration techniques? That's what is becoming key today. So how do we effectively store and compute customer data, leverage behavioral analytics and machine learning, build a holistic omni-channel platform to convert customer insight into long-term business growth? That's going to be the key priority. And when we start doing that, and you asked about how exactly businesses are personalizing at scale about the customer experience. So I can talk about my experience where we are creating a customer profile, understanding what customer feels, what customer says, what customer thinks, what are the customer's experience. So to start with, building that customer profile is extremely important. And once you build that profile, the next step is how do you really create customer specific vision statement? And I'm categorically talking about creating a vision statement which is very specific to the customers. Enabling your own internal teams in that direction is again another key aspect that we really need to look at. What's going to be various customer relationship management platforms that could again play critical role. Customer choices, are we really leveraging omni-channel platforms that I talked about? That's going to be critical. Are we enabling our customers on various self-service mechanisms? That's going to play another integral role. Voice of customer or various offerings. Are we really rolling out right offerings so that we can help our customers become successful on this hyper-personalized journey, basically, right? And evaluation of all those offerings to take continuous measures to correct or course correct and iterate is going to be the key drivers for driving those personalization agenda for our customers in coming days.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor. Ankur, I would like to come to you because since you represent similar kind of platform for customer, what's your view on the same point? How do companies engage and provide the seamless experience to the customers?
Thanks, Dhaval. Hi, everyone. So my view would be similar to the panelists are including yourself, Dhaval. You are in the business, and my reading is usually with sitting with likes of you as individual. Uh, what has happened? We always say pre-COVID and post-COVID. That's the new before Christ and those sort of things. So, uh, what has happened after COVID is everybody has a digital presence now. Okay, so suddenly there is a lot of competing product or services for every business. Okay, now bad or good part is that there is very less amount of differentiation from a product or feature point of view, and there is a very less amount of differentiation again from a price point of view. So a key differentiator where companies are associating themselves is customer experience. Okay, I'll give an example. uh, there is a company, I'll not name it obviously, but they try to sell organic food online. And one of the things which they have been doing is sending out those campaigns, which Dr. Mahapatra also pointed out, intelligent campaigns that I want to buy, Ankur would be more, receptive to this campaign on a WhatsApp channel. Okay. And during the daytime when he's hungry, okay, near about my lunchtime. So they usually send this out. Now, but I ended up not buying from them. Reason, one of the things was uh, when I reply back on the same journey, it breaks. So if I say on the same WhatsApp, yes, I'm interested to buy the food, it breaks. So I feel one of the action, adding to what Dr. said, Dr. Mahapatra said, would be from a personalization point of view, also to realize the digital divide within the organization between the journey, the 360-degree journey. That if you're attracting a customer on those digital channels, how to conclude the entire transaction, onboarding, and utilization of that service or product on the same conversation or the same interaction. Okay. Usually business end up making customer jump between different channels. Hey, I have an offer for you, but for that you have to log on to my website. That's where it breaks. So that's actually what is the digital device is what differentiating a good customer experience to a not so good customer experience. I won't use the word bad customer experience, but that's what is distinguishing right now. What I'm seeing in the market.
Okay, thank you. Now let's go to Shweta, who is representing different industry. Shweta, if you can talk about a few of the best practices on connected customer, or maybe I would say, how do you ensure that your customer are cemented to you?
Thank you so much for the question, Dhaval. So, as part of my experience, I mean, I've been fortunate enough to be a part of digital journey of multiple industries. I have some experience in healthcare, some in education, logistics, financial services, and now with cement manufacturing. What I have observed personally is that digital experience is extremely important for all enterprises. It's just that industry wide, there are minor tweaks that we do in terms of how do we approach our customers and how all what all the other ways that we reach out to the customers and engaged with them. In terms of best practices, I would like to quickly put in couple of bullet points. However, there is nothing like wrong and right. It's just that what clicks the most.
Yep.
And every customer persona has a different way of responding to your campaigns. And still, however, we may do a lot of customer segmentation and personalization. Every individual is different. So while we are able to categorize them into a certain set of preferences, still a lot of personalization, which we call it hyper personalization, is required. So one is, of course, that we have to somehow gauge the expectations of the customer by segmenting them, but then yet we should be able to drill down to the individual's need, preferences, and especially the pain points. We may be so as part of my healthcare experience, I would say that it's not something that I would sell as a product or a service, that hey, you have a the surgery as a we have a discount for the surgery. Obviously not, that cannot be a pitch. So it has to be tweaked as per the industry, and we should be able to address to a specific objective that we want to attend to. Which needs a clear cut understanding of the goal that we want to achieve, and then we should arrive at a measurable metrics, that what exactly would help us understand that which way our customers are more responsive, how are they supposed to be addressed to. Omni-channel experience, of course, is one where Ankur also has highlighted that the experience all across should be uniform. We shouldn't start something and route the customer to another channel, or maybe prompt him to approach us in a different manner to uh, to attend to a particular requirement. So, be it a CRM, be it a call center, website, social media, messages, or even a digital apps that we have, a lot of times there are applications for B2C, B2B customers. All across, the uniform experience needs to be ensured. A lot of times I have also observed that we end up putting a lot of focus on customer acquisition. However, retention and continuous engagement is equally important. So, as part of our loyalty programs, we run a lot of loyalty programs to engage with the customer, but then at times we do end up not catering to them as much as we do towards acquisition. So, retention is also equally important. And one other important aspect is that we need to be reviewing our customers' behavior continuously. It's not just that we've onboarded a customer and he's our customer now. His needs would change. So he may be opting for a product initially, but then he can also be inclined towards some other product or services which can be offered as part of his journey with the company. But for that, there needs to be an ongoing, continuous monitoring of his behavior with us, as well as the market dynamics. When the market dynamics change, we need to tweak our campaigns and approaches towards that. And lastly, I would like to summarize by saying that customer is the king. So at the end, we need to acknowledge this fact, and a human touch should be there. So while we talk digital so much, there is no denying that we can replace a human or a personalized touch. So that's definitely a part of the strategy.
Okay. Thank you, Shweta. Praveen, now let's move on to hospitality sector. I'm sure you would have similar practices what Shweta talked about. Having put in all these practices in place, how do you measure the success of this connected customer initiatives? If you can throw some light on that.
So just to give you a background of hospitality sector, we are a 120-year-old hospitality company, the first hotel company in India. And so technically, we've always been creating personalization through brick and mortar and human beings, right? So just about 5 years back, just pre-pandemic is when we started using technology, and pandemic, of course, did bring in technology much more forward, and we were able to get a lot more information. So what's really happening in the hospitality industry is again very similar to what my fellow friends have spoken about. One is that we are sitting on a mountain of data. Now, this is data which tells us about the customer behaviors, which tells us about what our customers doing. It even tells us about regression in terms of what kind of trigger points are making people spend money on different forums and so on. But as far as mining this data and using it is concerned, we've only started doing that about a few years back. So most of our focus is on three aspects, and one of them is all about, first is about acquiring your customer, because if you are not going to own your customer, somebody else will. There's a lot of work going on in terms of acquiring customers. And today, most customers are part of more than one hospitality chains. And I'm sure all of you guys who are sitting on the panel, when you travel, you have everything from Bonvoy to Taj Inner Circle to Hilton Honors and so on. So I think that's one part of it. And the other part of it is, now once you've got the data, how do you use it? So there are a lot of interesting things that we do with data. We need to create demand, and we need to also nudge our customer at different levels. So we use AI-based tools where at certain times, based on your need of your travel, the kind of business that you're doing, we are able to upsell you rooms, we are able to upsell you products and so on. And there are, in the entire customer journey from starting to end, we keep nudging you at various points to find out how we can get better conversion. And I think that's one very interesting thing for hotels. It's difficult to do because we started with a brick and mortar. So in fact, I always say that whenever I go and meet my people around in the system, that creating a digital infrastructure in a brick and mortar company is 5 times more difficult compared to doing it in a nascent company which is starting digital, or which is starting on a technology platform straight away. So from an e-commerce to an existing company is always quite challenging. So that's what's really happening. And what we do is we use loyalty as a very strong hook, which is connected with personalization. So we don't just focus on, as Shweta said, we don't just focus on one-time interactions. We focus on the lifetime value of this customer. And that's where technology comes in handy, because it helps us to kind of take care of him at different needs. And because hotels offerings right from food to banquet experiences to stays to official stays to stays when you're doing your leisure travel, so we become a one-stop shop for everything. So that in a way is very helpful for us to be able to provide and use technology. And we've kind of implementing omni-channel journeys. We are also in the process of building apps which are going to be far more hyper local. So when you check into a hotel, the app would actually tell you what's happening in that hotel and would also continue to engage with you. And also in our industry, We are looking at now moving ahead into e-concierge. We're looking at chatbots, which will kind of be one-stop shop for you to take care of all your needs when you're staying in a hotel. And I think that's the evolution that we see happening in the industry. We are slightly behind e-commerce websites, but that's because most of our behaviors are in brick and mortar, and you can't take people away from it. And one last point I would say is that our focus is a lot more on digital than just digital, which means the digital fires the decision making and empowers people to take decisions in the front line. So when a customer checks into a hotel, the technology will be able to tell the customer, tell the employees everything about that customer, and then from there onwards, it actually takes it forward. So, for example, if Dhaval has come and stayed with us, I would actually collect physical data and put it into the system so that I can customize his future stays, right? From the kind of fruits I place in his room to the kind of amenities that I can place in his room. And actually, in the future, we'll also, even get your air conditioning temperature set by what we saw you putting in the last 2 or 3 visits. So that's the kind of technology which will kind of help us to do that.
Thank you. Thank you. Kapil, both Shweta and I think Praveen talked about human touch to the digital experience. So, how can businesses strike balance between automation and the human touch angle to this customer journey?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Dhaval. In fact, you know, we are in an industry where we service pretty much all industries. We service BFSI, utility, consumer electronics, and you name it, healthcare, retail. So while it is extremely critical for us to customize solutions for the specific industry, but also we have to rely on a larger framework that kind of becomes a driving force behind all the technology implementations that we do. So that being said, one of the critical element in our industry has been how do we improve customer experience, and there is a lot of hoopla around how do we improve customer experience. So while the world talks about engagement, we have to strike a balance between engagement and intrusion. So it's extremely critical to not over engage with our customers, so they start seeing it as an intrusion into, and that kind of makes them little uncomfortable with the brand. So one of the important and a critical initiative that we are driving at the moment is the moving away from just customer satisfaction to legendary customer experience. Uh, Last 1 decade, I think, and all the eminent panel speakers have kind of spoken about how critical it is to delight a customer. Uh, a decade back, probably it was more about implementing digital solutions to make customers happy and give them what they want and when they want. But now it's more about preempting their needs, like Dr. Mohapatra said, predicting what customers might expect from us in the near future and taking an action on it now. And it's not limited only to one particular channel, right? So it's across the board. The intersection, the main question, which is about how do we interact with the customers and yet use technology? So personalization as well as automation. How do these two things go hand in hand together? So we have been talking a lot about chatbots and generative AI and neural networks, and we have a new launch of ChatGPT. The world is gung-ho about it at the moment, but I think over the last 1 decade there have been significant investments in the industry on the intersection of human interaction and the artificial intelligence. Uh, Now we have thrown in a third angle as well, which is automation as well. So the intersection of these three is what's going to be the key going forward. Example could be an email bot. You've been interacting with brands through emails as well, along with, of course, the other channels. But when you send an email out, the email is reviewed, prepared, answered by an AI solution, which is basically an email bot. By looking up information on the CRM platform as well as the company's traditional internal legacy platforms, pulling data from all those sources, putting it in an email, and just before it goes to the customer, gets reviewed by a human. So, that, in my view, is like a typical intersection between automation, AI, and the human touch, working all three in tandem, making sure that we deliver the right outcome to the customer that customer expects from us now, and preempting the future needs as well.
Wonderful. So now let's change the gears. Dr. Mahapatra, I will come to you now. You are the largest platform provider who is enabling the connected customer ecosystems in terms of various tools,
Mr. Mankad,
technology.
if I may, just wanted to announce for the participants that if they have any questions, they can either put it on that question answer box, which is there just below your screen where you see the speaker. There is a question answer section. You can click on it and ask your question. Just wanted to mention that. Okay, over to you, Mr.
Thank
Dhawan.
you.
Please continue.
Yeah. Yes, doctor. So, I mean, we are hearing a lot about AI chatbot, and even Kapil also talked about the next level of automation using AI and chatbots. I mean, where do you see this AI chatbot, etc., in the driving of connected customer experience going forward for the businesses?
Okay, so great question again, Dhaval. So, and since you mentioned about the company what I work for, maybe I'll just start explaining from there, right? So, as you all know, like in Amazon, we strive to become world's most obsessed customer company, basically, right? So, we innovate on behalf of our customers. If you really look at Amazon services, almost 90% of our services are based on customer feedback, and 10% of the services that we build, that's actually reading between the lines. For example, no customer asked us to build a serverless technology, right? Customers need was, how can I get a infrastructure in place which is faster, which is cheaper, and that gave rise to what the whole world today known as serverless technology, right? So that's the customer obsession we really kind of bring into table. Coming up to how AI chatbots are really driving the customer experience, right? And this is kind of getting more and more commoditized. All of us know, I'll not preach how AI is really important when it comes to getting the actionable insights and getting the real actions that can be implemented to drive customer experience. But the challenge that I see, Dhaval and all my fellow panelists are, we are doing a lot of data analytics, right? But the challenge is not related to how much data is really available, the quantity of data, right? It's more about, are we really getting the right qualitative data to drive the insights? That's the challenge the whole industry is grappling with today, basically. So data management is something that we need to really think about. When it comes to implementation of AI and chatbots, right? How do we really do a lot of customer segmentation and analysis? Do we really have a playbook to talk about, right? We talked about multi-channel engagements, right? Talk about cross functional teams, right? Collaborations. Those are the things I think more important role to play than the so-called technology enablers like artificial intelligence or machine learning or chatbots, basically, right? Of course, when we drive personalization, and if I talk about AWS, we already come up with a AWS personalized as a service that we kind of recently announced in reInvent, which many of you may are aware of. So those are basically can be implemented to drive the right set of customer experience and right set of customer behavior. But I do not really think technology as a bottleneck to drive those things, right? If I give again another Amazon example, let's say when Amazon.com started, and I'm sure all of you shop in Amazon.com's website, right? When it started, it was not such a slicky website that you go and shop, basically, right? It was a very monolithic application, maybe more than nearly 20 years back, and we call it as Obidos, which is basically a place in Brazil where the Amazon River really becomes very narrow, basically, right? So that was the bottleneck. That was the entire bottleneck for Amazon.com site. right? Then we broke that into multiple monoliths, and we call it as Gurupa, which is basically again a delta where all the Amazon river things goes into the sea, right? So we broke it into monoliths, but still the challenge remains. Though it was a service-oriented architecture, but the services were not really delivering the right results. That gave rise to microservices, and today the Amazon.com website you use, that's built up around using hundred thousands of microservices that's come together to deliver the value to the customers. That's the journey every customer experience need to go through along with the technology changes, right? From monolith to microservices, and then leveraging all the exponential technologies that we talk about, whether it's artificial intelligence or chatbots, right? And today, if you really look at, and coming directly to the point, Dhaval, we had load of chatbots today, right? Starting from Abhas of the world to Surenas of the world, right? So all of those are good, right? And today people are thinking about building a virtual nervous system within the robots so that you get a human-like emotion, human-like experience, right? Which is great thing to have. But I completely agree with what I think Kapil as well as Praveen talked about, right? So having that human touch, human interaction with what you do with technology, with the chatbots, with the robots or any other artificial intelligence engines is all important. So coming back to the data point I was talking about, there is no guarantee that you are going to get 100% data all the time right, basically, right? Which can give you a right insight. So how do you really make those decisions with those 70% data based on other anecdotes that you can get? That's basically the key for success of customer experience journey. So as Jeff Bezos rightly says, there is no compression algorithm for experience, right? So you need to really, you cannot really take out all those experience that probably resides in human mind through all of those things. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. My next question is for Ankur and Kapil. I mean, since this is a very evolving and fast-changing world, the customer expectation, experience, requirement also keeps changing. So, how do brands or company can cope up with this change and remain updated to provide enriching or delightful connected customer experience? Ankur and then Kapil.
So thanks, Awal. Yes, the customer would always be demanding. The preferences change. So first and foremost, when we indulge as Startup Communication Digo, we come in as your CX partner or CX transformation partner. One thing which clearly needs to be addressed is CX is a practice. It is not a tool, first of all. It is 20% technology, but 80% it is about your customer. So you end up basically organizing around customer rather than making customer organize around you. Okay. So people challenge has to be inside the enterprise, needs to be addressed. So it's a bit of process transformation to start with, number one. Uh, and Dr. Mahapatra, in his first question, which you asked him, addressed a point which was voice of customer.
Yeah.
Which we tend to capture, but we do not action on it, and we end up using the same legacy parameters to judge our CX health. Okay, I am pointing out to NPS, which a lot of companies still use today, but the new upcoming parameters like CES, customer effort score, actually points out to the chronic issue customer is facing while buying your service, consuming your service, or seeking service support. Okay, so once we know the issues, then only we can fix it. Okay, so setting up, first of all, setting up the internal organization to hear the customer more clearly. Secondly, getting right parameters to judge yourself or your CX, which you are giving to the customer. And third and last would be the role of technology. And previous to this question, you were asking about chatbot. Yes, chatbots are great. Chatbots are basically automation knowledge base which can throw around answers to questions and things like that. But again, there has to be a human touch to it. Kapil already touched upon, email has to be viewed by a human. Uh, in Tata Communication Digo, the offer which we bring to the customer, there's a whole logic of advanced logic of HITL, human interface transfer logic, wherein the whole chatbot, once customer starts going, the CX starts going negative on the chatbot. If you start getting frustrated with the chatbot, there has to be a human which comes in, takes over immediately. So there's a constant contextual intelligence which is checking your voice levels or your nature of the messages you are passing to the chatbot. And as soon as somebody says, "Are you serious?" There should immediately a chatbot coming, a human coming in and taking over from the chatbot as well. So I think these are the things which, as of today, where we are helping the organizations to fix as well. That was all yours.
Yeah. Kapil.
Yeah. Yeah, Dhaval, thank you for the question. So I think from a, how do we stay ahead of the game when it comes to the customer experience transformation, right? Uh, World has been talking about customer experience transformation. As I said, there's a lot of hoopla around it. One of the most important thing that we tend to forget is, are we transforming customer experience profitably? Ultimately, the business thrives on profit. So there is, so this particular topic, how do we stay ahead and how do we cope up with the customer expectation constantly, has to be looked at three important parameters, or there have to be lenses through which it has to be looked at. One is from the technology standpoint, how do we transform, how do we help the customer? The other is the tactical solutions, which is to do more to do with your process changes. Sometimes it's not about deploying a multi-million dollar solution, but sometimes it's just a simple fix in your process that actually changes the whole game. And then the strategic. So it has to be aligned from the top leadership all the way to our frontliners, making sure that everybody in the system is involved in delighting the customer and delivering the legendary customer experience, right? And Ankur very rightly pointed out the customer effort score. There, again, about decade and a half back, uh, NPS is something that everybody wanted to do, and they still do because the system is already set up. Customer satisfaction scores are still being measured. Customer effort score is a step in that direction, that how do you stay ahead of the customer expectations, so that if you know and customer effort has to be looked at from every touch point, not necessarily when they're calling in, but also about, I went to your website, but I couldn't find a particular product. Or when I tried to place an order on your website, the experience breaks. I've been on the call waiting for the last 10 minutes and nobody answered. So that's an IVR touch. So these are just couple of examples of the touch points. And there are technologies available today like speech analytics, text analytics. Um, not These are not new technologies. They have been around for a while now. But how do we leverage those successfully in gauging customer experience or gauging customer effort proactively and derive a score out of it? And this is one of the important practice that we are driving at an organization level for our various consumer electronics clients, is not looking at only the customer satisfaction score, but look at the customer effort score on a scale of say 0 to 5, and say customers who are falling somewhere below 3 are still doing better, but anybody who has to exert so much of effort to do business with you is highly likely to churn, like Dr. Mopata talked about predictive churn, right?
Yeah.
So I think these are all interrelated. There are connections between all of these elements and should be looked at in entirety through a strategic view and not in isolation. As long as we do it all together, I think that there are a lot of enabling forces and technology solutions available in the market uh, to supply you with the right insights, analytics, and data. Um, I think what's important is to build this mind map. Everything looks scattered, but how do you put it all together and put it ahead of the customer is extremely critical.
Yeah. Thank you. Praveen, last question to you. I mean, Kapil and I think Ankur talked about chatbot use cases. You also talked about certain use cases of chatbot. Would you like to highlight any few more examples what brand companies leverage around chatbot AI to enhance the customer experience? So one quick answer, and then we'll go to Sweta for last question.
So, two interesting conversations which came out from both Kapil and Ankur were that technology is more like vehicles, right? So, if you look at the evolution of mankind from bringing in a wheel to the aircraft, technology is quite like very similar. So, you have chatbots, you have all kinds of things available to us, but they are only going to make your strategy and what you want to do much more faster. But what's really important is people need to know what do they really want to achieve. So that's one great insight, and I was about to share the same. Now, coming back to the chatbots and AI, I think we are finding chatbots and AI everywhere. It's about the use cases and how do you want to use it, right? So, in an industry like ours where people interact with us, so most of our interactions with a hotel company, probably 50% today, start from digital and then go on to physical and then end at digital, right? So we actually have a journey which is unique because you would make your bookings. So there is a active use of chatbots and AI to predict what you want, to provide you with customized solutions based on your profile. Also, you can ask questions pertaining to where do you want to go. So we see that increasing quite a lot.
Yeah.
In fact, lately, based on the Chat GPT-3, somebody sent me a very nice, like a little link where you could go and give the number of days where you want to travel and the destination, and it will make a customized itinerary. So
Yeah.
we see that this technology is going to disrupt certain business models heavily, and that's mainly towards making life difficult for travel agents, and also probably at certain times it will give more control to people. So that's where we see AI coming in, and there will be models which will be built over the AI. So we need to be kind of actively involved in it. In some examples, we are already seeing that there are at least in our industry, there are a lot of people where the advisory services are moving into AI, or basic mundane activities where people just need to have an inform or a query is moving into chatbots, and that's kind of going to continue. We see that in hotels very often. Specifically, we have different tiers of hotels, so starting from economy, upscale to luxury. So that's not really too much in luxury, because in the luxury space, having a person to provide you with your services is important, but in the lower categories, it's very quickly getting all transformed into chatbots. In a similar field, specifically digital companies, we are seeing that chatbots are kind of taking over. There's a lot of work happening also on WhatsApp, which is basically also as a chatbot functions to provide you with solutions. You can even do e-commerce on them. And lately, I've seen some of the even old traditional companies like HDFC Bank and all that, they've launched some really cutting edge chatbots, and they work very well. So you will see that that's going to continue happening, but we have to take that evolution as traveling by aircraft. So you will keep having things which will make you work faster, which will probably take care of the mundane work, and you will find your time and effort to engage with the customers better. So that's my overview on that.
Thank you. Sweta, we will end this session with last question. The question is about, with all this companies, brand gather a lot of customer data. How do you take care of the data privacy and regulations? And one more additional question is, how do you drive the culture also within the company towards the connected customer ecosystem?
Yeah. Very pertinent question, and this is definitely one of the major concerns when a customer engages with you for the first time. And as part of all the digital platform onboarding journey, he's asked a couple of very, very personal questions like his date of birth, and at a lot of times when specifically talking about financial industry, they're supposed to share a lot of KYC details. So this is the first step where the customer shows a little bit of apprehension that why am I asked these questions? It's, I think the enterprises need, and they are also doing it, need to build confidence and stay very, very transparent in terms of what detail is captured, how is it captured, and how is it ensured that it is secure with the once it is shared. And with a lot of buzz around data privacy rule coming in, the enterprises have already started aligning themselves according to the clauses in the Act, Data Privacy Act. So to build the trust and ensure that the data is safe, first step, of course, is that you need to declare, you need to publicly, publish your privacy policies. And especially the apps which are published on Google Play Store now, Google and Apple, they are also very, very stringent on in terms of their privacy rules and the permissions that we take while an app is installed on one's system device. This is definitely one of the important thing that the enterprises are already doing. And then there is a stricter governance and control mechanism to be built in within the enterprise to ensure that data is collected only for a specific intent and it is not misused or shared without the consent of the individual. So this is something that we need to ensure as part of our privacy norm. And it also needs to be re-established and reaffirmed to the customer back any given time. However, like every other enterprises does and is mandated to do that, in case of any pilferage and leakage of the data, we are also supposed to inform our customers in advance. Apart from this, there is a lot of awareness programs that are run by the companies. In financial industry, of course, RBI has mandated to run campaigns, but I think all of our enterprises are now cognizant of this fact that this is their responsibility once the data is collected, and the responsibility of awareness of the customers as well as the internal employees is important. We run a lot of internal training programs wherein the customers are educated that we are the custodians and what is our responsibilities with respect to maintaining the data, and what is the what is the personal data, what is non-personal data, and what is the mandate around it. And at the same time, this there is also one important effort that is done by enterprises is that it is not the IT function that is responsible for ensuring data privacy. So a lot of time it is misunderstood that since IT is storing the data and it's taking control of the data, database servers and infra, they are the only ones who are responsible, whereas as everyone know, humans are the weakest link. So as part of the onboarding programs, induction programs in HR, and regular training programs, this also needs to be one of the important modules to be taught to the employees irrespective of the departments, that we need to take care of the information that we capture from our customers and it should not be shared. And then there are certain programs that we run as part of the IT that we do phishing mock drills and other things just to ensure that in no circumstance we should, by any mistake, end up sharing and compromising the data of our customers.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I think we are dot on time. I don't see any question. Are there any questions, Kavita?
Yes. I just wanted to ask a question. Shweta has replied to that question. In fact, I'll just like to leave this question for the other panelists if they want to. So it came like this: to any panelist with so much of data at play, how prepared are the companies ready from the data privacy and protection perspective, especially now that the Indian privacy legal requirements also are expected to become a law soon? And while Ankur had also mentioned about NPS, that is Net Promoter Score. In the digital era, is NPS still relevant? If not, what is the one thing that you would like to ask to get their feedback on customer experience? These are two questions. It's general. Anyone can answer. And I suppose Mr. Praveen Chandar and Ankur and others, you could maybe answer this.
Yeah, I can take the security one actually.
Okay.
So the enterprises, which some of the enterprises which we have worked with, they are already prepping themselves for securing of the P2 data and like data identity, and they are working with us on various things. I'll give you an example. World's biggest cab aggregator had been using their infrastructure so that driver cannot see passenger's number and passenger cannot see driver's number, because number is obviously P2 data, and they were trying to build that internally. Recently, that workflow itself has been moved, basically created and moved on to I would say level two switches, which is on code. So nobody sees anything. Nobody, like, even the company itself doesn't hold that record that is completely encrypted and everything. And for that, we got recently awarded. So I'll flex that as well. We help them do that. And and that's where taking the cue from all this, Indian companies have already, I feel they have already started, because that has been already a topic of discussion when I specifically uh, to enterprises. And one of the things which generally points out to, can you put this entire system cloud, or sorry, customer engagement system uh, at on premise in order to do that. Though Dr. Mahapatra wouldn't like that, uh, but that has been a makeshift arrangement to get over that security challenge. But there are other ways as well, which we have been advising the enterprises to, have to get over that challenge.
I'll add on to what Ankur said actually, right? So I see this data privacy challenge in two dimensions. One is internally how we are geared up by enabling our employees. There are so many techniques available like security behavioral score, where we enable people, because a lot of the times the data privacy challenges happen within internal to the organization as well, right? In the same time, if you really look at external, uh, today when you are driving customer experience and thinking about data privacy, there are homomorphic encryption techniques. Probably I'll not get into a lot of technical details, but neuromorphic systems, homomorphic encryption techniques, those are the things we could look at to make the data encrypted and making the right data available to the right person at the right time, basically, right? And of course, coming back to cloud, and of course, Ankur, I'll not agree to that. Today, cloud, I don't think those are the days today where we think about whether cloud is secured or not, right? That time is past, right? Cloud is secured and you can kind of access through multi-tenancy and other secured cloud practices, whether it's Nitro, whether it's Kerberos and other techniques available today that you can really implement to make your data secured, basically. So I think to summarize, it's a two-pronged approach, both internal enablement and external technical capabilities that is being developed day by day. So those are the things we'll probably address along with the process challenges that Sweta talked about. How do you really take care of those processes? All three in tandem will probably solve the challenges around data privacy in coming days.
So also just to add on to what Ankur and Dr. Mahapatra said, I think it's great that government is coming up with processes and frameworks to bring in data privacy. So two things happen with that. One, we are all very confident that we are kind of moving towards that. So for example, tokenization has been a great example. If you see the way our industry has been able to implement tokenization, that was in a record time. It's quite credible. So today, when you check into a hotel, we don't keep your credit card details. In the same way, if you're dealing with any other, website and so on, so the token is what makes it happen. And I'm very glad that in a country like India, where we're still not that forward with knowledge. I mean, in terms of data adoption, we are fairly, in comparison with West, we are far better. So that's one. And second thing is, the new data privacy laws, we are quite happy to welcome it, because consent is also going to help us to remove the clutter. So what's been happening in the industry is that everybody's been just mining data from all sources and using it at all level. Once you start moving into consent, just like it happened with GDPR in our industry a few years back, it's very clear that today you are targeting the right customer. You're not, carpet bombing. So it's like more precision targeting than carpet bombing. So I think that's going to be the next future, and we are quite happy to embrace that. Coming back to the other question that you had, Kavita, on the is NPS enough or do we need anything else? I think with data coming in and with technology coming in, and if your most of your customer experiences are on the technology field, you will need much more faster methods of finding out that is customer happy with you. And of course NPS can continue to be a traditional manner, but we are already working with the guy person that we work with for customer satisfaction are looking at having multiple customer satisfaction surveys or audits during the time of the stay when a person is staying with you. And we are kind of toying around with currently, which means when you're staying in a hotel, every place where you go, you can just take a QR code and you could scan it and take a customer survey at that particular moment. And in a similar field, in your customer interface journey, a lot of companies that I know are building in pulse surveys, which means that you could kind of, without intruding too much into the customer can actually, if he wishes to, he could rate the timelines that are being taken and what is the experience. So I think that's going to keep evolving in the future.
Yeah, I'll just add on to what Parveen said, right? And I'm sure all of you probably heard of what is called as Amazon Go, right? So you go to Seattle, get into a grocery store, pick up the stuff and come out, right? Everything is done automatically. You don't really need to do anything. So that's the customer experience, what the whole world is really moving into today, basically, right? Of course, there are a lot of techniques, whether it's NPS, voice of customer. I think Ankur talked about CES or customer lifetime value, right? Those are the techniques that's available. End of the day, we strongly believe customer experience is like you are inviting your customer to a party and you are the host, basically, right? And you take all out effort to ensure that your customer gets a better customer experience during that party.
So any more question, Kavita?
No, not anymore. I think you can maybe conclude with some key takeaways.
Okay, thank you everybody for wonderful discussion. The conclusion, I mean, Sweta summarized in one single word: customer is king. So, I mean, that's the key takeaway. And I mean, as everybody highlighted, it's not about technology. Technology come at a later stage. I think Ankur mentioned about, and I think Kapil also mentioned, CX is not a tool software. It's a practice to be followed. So it's all about people, process, then the technology, and then the Sweta also mentioned about the objective needs to be cleared. Praveen also mentioned about that what we want to do with connected customer or the consumer experience, that should be clear. We need to have customer segmentation, data churning well in place so that we can know customer well. And I mean, it's time to move away from NPS to CES in the current world. And I think all the brands, companies needs to remain agile. They need to be remain connected with the outer world, that what's happening around the customer experience. And we need to continuously, and I think Shweta also mentioned about the continuous engagement with customer, not the acquisition. So I think those are few of the practices which brand and companies needs to follow to ensure that the customers get continuous enriching experience. Thank you very much.
With
Thank
that,
you.
I would like to thank all our speakers. We've had a very interesting session, and we hope to have you again for one of our programs in the near future. And I would just like to inform all the participants who have logged in that we have come to an end of this session, but we've got two more sessions today. The next session will start at 1:15 p.m., which would be the session on connected ecosystem and imperative for growth. And our speakers would be Mr. Xavier Kurian from Dell Technologies, Mr. Praveen Arora from Tata Communications, Mr. Ranganathan Iyer from JBM Auto, Mr. Sadashiv Ranganath he's the Chief Technology Officer of HPE, and Mr. Abhishek Sharma, founder Beyond Evolution Tech Solutions. So I hope to see the participants join us for that session as well. So with that, thank you, Mr. Mankar. Thank you to all
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Ankur,
you.
Dr. Mahapatra, Kapil, and Mr. Chandra, and Shweta. Good to have you all.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.